Hey everyone, it's Pojo. I have a limited amount of time to record before I head off on vacation, and we wanted to get some content out here, so we're doing a smorgasbord of small topics. The second of which is going to be why should new players play Eternal, or why play Eternal over other digital card games in particular. And in particular, I think I'm going to be making some comparisons to Magic the Gathering, which the comparisons should be somewhat obvious to anyone who has played Magic the Gathering. But in general, when I talk about Eternal and when I'm asked in like a sentence or two to describe what Eternal is, I will often say that it is a digital redesign of Magic the Gathering as made by MTG Pros from the ground up, with digital in mind specifically. So let's talk a little bit about what that means, why I think that the product that they have produced is really superior to other digital products, and why I think it's a fun game to play. So yeah, if you don't know Magic the Gathering, well, we'll do a very, very quick summary of it. It is a collectible card game similar to all of the stuff that is out here right now, very much like Eternal in terms of its color wheel and its sort of general design. But the basic idea is that you are running 60 card decks and trying to reduce your opponent's life total to 0 while using many different spells that summon monsters and play other like sort of dramatic effects. Magic is a longtime staple that has existed for 20, 30 years at this point, which is absolutely incredible for pretty much any type of game. Like it is by far one of the most long-lived and sort of well-received card games out there, and for many good reasons. It's had a lot of different sets out, many, like, it's got just maybe hundreds of thousands of cards. I would say might even be like larger than that at this point. And it's just been around for an incredible amount of time and basically been an incredible staple of the card game community for a really, really long time. And one of the things that it has bred has been some like very professional players, many of whom got together on this team, Direwolf Digital, and designed this card game, which is called Eternal. And it is very much not Magic, but it is also very much built out of many of Magic's multiple design principles, which there are a lot of people who are big studies of design at Magic, and like basically one of the other things that happens with Magic is that like a lot of that card design knowledge has been shared with the world at large, and a lot of people from that sort of environment have sort of escaped to build other card games and build other interesting ideas. Eternal is an approach to Magic that specifically regards the digital environment. It is designed to play at an average length of 5 minutes, as opposed to Magic's games, which can be sort of a lot more widely varied, but also like often can last a lot longer. It has very few priority passes, so like basically gameplay flows a lot smoother. There are opportunities for interaction, but they are limited in scope, and that means that basically whenever like there aren't things to do, the game generally flows a lot smoother. There isn't a lot of sort of pass back and forth. The design of cards is designed such that basically all of the cards function in ways that are really interesting in a digital environment. Cards can transform into other cards. They can affect cards inside your deck. They can grow bigger and smaller and stay bigger and smaller when they change states, which is something that in Magic is very strictly a no-no. So for example, if you are to make a unit in Eternal big, then it will stay big once it goes into your void and continue to be big when you bring it back from your void, something that is not generally functional in a Magic environment. In addition, like many of the spells and things like do things that are just very, very hard to keep track of in Magic. A lot of like counting and token management and all of that stuff is managed on the cards directly. So you can print cards like the Witching Hour, for example, which is a 24 cost card that reduces in cost while in your deck for every card that you play until it costs 0, which is something that's like fairly interesting to play around with, and also something that's really sort of generally fun to design. In addition, the game is also designed to host only 12 units, basically on a smaller board, so you don't have a sort of huge untrackable stack of things. And the power system is just, in my opinion, generally better designed, but it is also designed so that power is placed on the board, but then immediately vanishes into like a little sort of tray where you never have to worry about it again, and you basically only manage your influence as a threshold, or your your colors as a threshold, while your lands, as they are, basically are just used to determine your maximum amount of mana. So all of that sort of means that the game itself is designed to be a much friendlier and a much different but very much similar game to Magic. It's designed to be digital. It's designed to be of a very similar style to it, of a very similar complexity, but with a different flavor, a different theme, a slightly different take on the color wheel, and basically no sort of color wheel as it would stand, and also to just be more fun in a digital environment. I think that it really succeeds at this. I think that overall, the games of Eternal that you play tend to be very smooth. It is a fun game to play overall. It is mechanically, however, as complicated and very frequently as interesting as games of Magic, and sometimes even more so based on what you are doing with digital mechanics and how you have to sort of reevaluate certain things that you would normally sort of view very differently from a Magic perspective. Some things in Eternal make a lot more sense than they do in Magic, and some things that they do in Eternal or some things in Eternal just generally flow a little better, which is really, really cool. There are more interesting puzzles to solve. There's a lot more interesting stuff happening there. Okay, so why this game over games like Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra? For one, I think that it's a more complicated game. I think that it has a generally more interesting strategy to it, a more complicated board state. There's a lot more decisions to be made in each game. I also think that the deck building is extremely strong in this game. So this is a game where you can formulate a lot of different plans with a lot of different ideas, and you can generally find that they will work, provided you are able to put in the right cards and put in the right sort of setup to sort of get there. Basically, any rare or legendary card has interesting build around me effects that you can then play around with commons and uncommons very easily. And there's also a lot of potential to sort of play around with those cards in many different and fun ways. I think that that sort of complexity of deck building and the complexity of game state of this game make it very, very interesting in respect to other card games of its type, and is something that basically they are bringing from the Magic field into the digital environment without too many hitches. So for a game like Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra, this is something where I just think it has a lot more legs. You can play it for a longer period of time. You can feel pretty satisfied with it after you have played with it. And overall, I think it's actually pretty cheap to play as well. It has very generous free-to-play concepts going on with it. You get a pack every day that when you are playing, and you also get to basically get a wide variety of early rewards that tend to help you when starting out, that make the entire process of onboarding a lot simpler. That isn't to say that I don't spend on this format. My particular role in the Eternal community is as a jank brewer, which means that I tend to play with a lot of very impressive and expensive legendaries. I'm not by any means an expert in this in the element of popper setup, but I do think that the game is cheap and affordable to play and can be done on a free-to-play budget. We completed our first 2 sets with a free-to-play budget. It's perfectly doable in any of these sets, and also I think that it is generally quite easy to build a deck that is functional and can take you to master on a commons and uncommons budget with just a couple of rares that you basically can accumulate on a free-to-play budget within a month. You see a lot of reports of people reaching master within the month when they first pick up this game. A lot of them have Magic experience, and they just sort of figure out what they need, build the deck that they want, and get started very quickly. The card accumulation probably could be faster, but overall this game is the most generous free-to-play game that I have played. It's easy to get into, and it plays really well. If you were to compare it to, of course, there is an online version of Magic Arena. I think it also compares favorably there, because in the same way that the complexity really diversifies it from games like Hearthstone and other sort of digital card games in that setup, I think that the ease of use and the sort of general improvements on design of Magic in its sort of reinvention of Magic, really make the experience a lot more pleasant than playing, say, MTG Arena or the other version of MTG Online. I think that, like, basically you just get a much smoother experience. The games are a lot more fun to play. You are able to sort of deal with larger, more complex states a lot faster, and like it's just like it's a more interesting experience due to the way that the mechanics blend so well with the digital environment. Like some of the stuff that it's offering in comparison to Magic, things like Warcry, elements where like Warp, where you're able to view cards on top of your deck and play them like very effectively, or cards like Revenge, where you have like things that get shuffled into the top 10 cards of your deck and get Destiny on top, and all of the like interesting mechanics that they're playing around with that are mostly digital only, transform mechanics, basically all of this stuff that they are doing in a digital environment. Like this really improves on the play experience when you are playing up against other people, and that's really important to me because I actually really enjoy playing in digital environments. When I want to play a game like this for a long period of time, I don't want to have to go to a physical store and play with people. I like people. I like playing with my friends. I still like playing Magic with my friends every now and then, but I also don't want to like sort of learn how to play a difficult card game by learning it from just sort of random folks that I am meeting. It's also like a very bad time for it, which means that it's a very good time to get into digital card games, since we are currently in the middle of a global pandemic, and just non-interaction with humans while still interacting with humans in some small way is definitely something that I feel like a lot of people are looking for right now. So, like, yeah, when I want to just sort of open up a game on my phone and just play a couple of rounds of something that is still really tactically interesting and well designed, and when I want that game to be a card game and I want it to be something where I get to build my own plans and make my own, like, inventive ideas and sort of express those ideas on the field of battle, this is the game that I go to. And, like, this has been my favorite game for 3 to 4 years now. I have never stopped playing it in all the time that it's been out. I have enjoyed every minute of it, the last set excluded. We're not going to talk too much about the previous set, but the new set is an absolute delight, and I'm enjoying it very much. So yeah, once again, like Eternal, it's Magic redesigned digitally. And that is a very good thing in many different ways. And I would be fair to say that it is Magic reinvented digitally. It's a different game with different ideas, but very similar execution. And that execution is almost completely flawless. So I really recommend this game. And if you didn't know that before, you know that now. So thank you so much for watching. I will be back with more small vlog videos up until Thursday, when we will then be able to get back to playing Eternal. And you can find me, as always, on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and all of those places as Loco Pojo. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.